Hi, this is Mac with Mac029, and now I'm going to talk about this Tiger Sparrowhawk XTT. This model has been discontinued. I don't know if it's just another one of those things like they did with the MT4 where they're going to re-release it with some downgraded radio or what have you. They still sell the brush version, which is the XT, on the Tower. Tower's exclusive dealer of Thunder Tiger. So anyway, I bought this used off eBay for a pretty good price, and so it's been pretty beat up. It came with some parts. I looked out of the hobby store and had this grab bag box of like a bunch of knuckles and bumpers and shock towers and stuff for like $1 a bag, so I kind of loaded up on that. So my plan was, I've always, I had the Stampede 4x4, I've had the Offna Hyper 10TT. I've always liked the idea of a 10 scale, true 10 scale size stadium truck, 4-wheel drive. I just think that that's like, I don't know, it's my favorite style of kit. I just like the way it looks and just all that, whatever. Just the handles, they jump well and everything. They just, compared to like an MT4, you can go over like really rough terrain, where this is more just like has a little bit more agility to it. The Stampede 4x4 was fun, but it had a lot of issues with it. And, well, I had it and the MT4 at the same time, so it kind of got a rough, treatment compared to what I was driving, the terrain I was driving on. It just couldn't compete. So. But I have a different plans for this. It's a little, lower ground clearance and lower center of gravity than the Stampede 4x4. So this is more going to be like just, more for handling per se. And I wasn't really into short course. I had the Slash 4x4 and I sold it. Just not a short course person, so I just like stadium trucks better. And so anyway, it's hard to give this a fair shake as far as what's technically good and bad on it, because I did buy it used. But I will tell you some of the things that I've heard about this truck by reading about it, and you can tell the person who owned it has a similar has had similar feedback or research, because they put Traxxas like Stampede, whatever, their generic plastic bodied shocks on here, and I've heard that the stock shocks leak and they're kind of like not that great. So these Traxxas ones are really good shocks, I think, for this size of vehicle, and they've already put them on here, so I'm going to leave it just like that. And, excuse me, doesn't have the stock electronics. This, it's kind of like hard to get a lot of speaker controls in here because of the way the steering arm goes right across right here, really limiting the size. So this Sidewinder, Castle Sidewinder, fits perfectly in there. And let me grab something. So I had put this Castle, the 1410 1Y motor in here. The short course 540 4-pole motor in here, and it was way powerful, but that motor is kind of like getting pretty long in the tooth and kind of falling apart. So while I was waiting for this other motor to come in, I put this. I had this in my my kid's Firestorm. It's just this Trackstar 3900 kV. It's one of those 380 cans with the 540, the 380 motor and a 540 can with all the deep rib things, just like the Easy Run motors. And it actually works pretty well. It's got pretty good power for it. It's been really hot here in Washington, so heat's been an issue in all my kits, but this actually did okay, but did okay because I haven't really got a full battery pack through it. I'm planning on putting this, I got this G-Force 4-pole 4000 kV 3650 size motor off of valuehobbies.com. I'll give it a try. That's like 35 bucks. That's a pretty good deal for what it was. I'm going to put that in as soon as I get this fixed. So I ran it, got about 5 minutes of running, and I broke this set screw here that holds the center dog bone in with the drive line here. That screw I went to go like loosen or tightening, it just sheared off. So I re-drilled it, tapped it, tried to fix it, couldn't get it fixed, and then I used actually the one that goes on the front here. I had an extra one of those in the bag of parts I got with the kit. Put it on the back, it kind of made it work, and then I actually just bought a replacement. Got that back together, stripped the spur gear, then stripped another spur gear, and that's another issue. And if you read online about this truck, pretty common problem. A lot of people complain about the openness of this here with the spur gear completely exposed, and that's why it strips so many spur gears. But you know, I can see that point, but you know, that's a pretty common thing that with a lot of RCs, you know, this open spur gear. My MT4 has an open spur gear, my EV4 has an open spur gear, the Stampede 4x4 is not really protected, you know, even though that had some issues with spur gears. But I solved the issues with like the Stampede 4x4 by getting the harder pinion gears from Robinson, and that actually made my spur gears last longer because the pinion gears would get eaten away, and then the leading edge would get ground down, and then they would get the gear mesh loosened up. So that's why all I buy now is a Robinson extra hard pinion gears and the 32 pitch, and they seem to last longer. And that leads me to this, is I went to the 47 tooth ProLite 4x4 32 pitch spur gear. It's a direct fit onto this truck because basically the ProLite 4x4 is almost the same truck. It's actually a little bit upgraded version of the Sparrowhawk DT12, which was a short course truck. It was just like this. It actually shares almost the A-arms. The A-arms are slightly different, but it shares the gearboxes, the gears, the shock towers. Almost most of the kit's the same as this, except for the chassis. It's the DT12 and the ProLite just have a longer chassis, and they flip-flop the servo and the speed control location. You have a little bit more room on the chassis. Other than that, they're pretty identical. Thunder Tiger owns Team Associated, and their qualifier trucks are basically Thunder Tiger. So the spur gear stripped, I got that, and as soon as I got the spur gear thing worked out, I broke one of the. Let me grab that piece. I broke the, I guess you can call it a dog bone. It's actually the CVD bone, and it looks like this. It's got the little hole there. It's your basic CVD setup where you have CVA, whatever you want to call it. You know, that goes into the cup, and it able to have velocity, you know, at any angle. So I broke that. And one thing about this truck is they sell, this irritates me, they sell the axles as a complete set. So you have to buy the axle, the kit, the little pieces that go inside. I don't know what you really call it, but, you know, the little guts of the knuckle. And basically it's an assembled CVA. You have to buy the whole entire piece complete, and it's like $27. When all you really need is the dog bone piece. So since the ProLite and the Sparrowhawk are very similar, I started looking at the parts for that, and I figured that the ProLite uses just a dog bone. It doesn't use the CVA in the rear. So I ordered, they're not in yet, I ordered 2 of just the dog bones. But the rear cup only works with the CVA. And the ProLite version has a shorter axle part right here. This is designed for it to stick through the hub, and then this goes over like that. And then it kind of pushes the wheel out just a hair to give you a little more width. So The Pro Light being a short course version, they shorten this up so just regular hexes fit on there. So I might get some of those because I'm trying to figure this out. So I took a Dremel, I have a spare set of these. So I took a Dremel and I notched out the little grooves, the holes that made grooves for this dog bone to sit into. Well, when you put this into the bearing, this notch part, the whole entire piece up to this flange part, goes all the way into the bearing. So your dog bone part, your little knuckle there, will be inside the bearing too, and it doesn't quite work very well. And I was like, so looking at the Pro Light version, these are identical from here to here. It's only shorter from here than this shaft part, but the part that fits inside the bearing is the same. So I'm assuming that this part still rides inside this groove part, inside the bearing. So I'm thinking maybe this part's, these little pins are not as wide, so that whole unit rides inside the bearing. I haven't tried to look for some pictures online. I haven't been able to see exactly how that unit fits together. So if anyone out there wants to give me a hint, that would be appreciated before I order a bunch of these Pro Light ones. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because I could just, if I end up going that route, I could put these on this truck and I would lose about a ½ an inch of width on the wheel stance there. And I was planning on maybe when I run out of all my 10th scale wheels and tires, and they all go bald and wear out, just putting short course wheels and tires on this anyways, but still run it as a stadium truck. I don't know. I thought about that until I saw Duratrax is coming out with pre-mounted monster truck and stadium truck tires, wheels and tires for 10th scale stuff. So they look like they're pretty good priced. So I don't know yet. But anyway, that's what I'm kind of working on with this. I'd like to get the little bugs worked out to give it a nice, good run to really figure out if this is a good truck. I've looked at it tons of times and hemmed and hawed about buying one, and it hasn't been a really popular truck, and people who've owned them haven't really talked about them too much. I know they have their issues. There's not any aftermarket support for these. Maybe if that Pro Light by Team Associated takes off a little more, gets more popular, there'll be some aftermarket fixes for the issues with that, which are basically issues with this. I looked at, modding it to use Traxxas parts for like the shafts, like maybe go MIP, but you have to do so much changing to the knuckle and everything, and I just don't know what I'm going to do about all that yet. So, but I would appreciate some helpful tips about stuff that anyone else has discovered on this. If they can look, if you have a Pro Light 4x4, maybe look and see how that rear axle the front one would be the one you need to look at. I guess the front and rear. Oh, yeah, the front is the same. It's a different part number. The front of this is exactly the same as the front of the Pro Light. In fact, I think the front and rear on the Pro Light are the same, and it's the same as the front on this one. I'm sorry, I take that back. The front of this one is the same as the front on the Pro Light. The rear on the Pro Light has just straight dog bones. This one here is the one that has CVs on the back, and they're actually shorter by a couple millimeters in the front. So these are exactly the same as the Pro Light front, and then this has CVs in the back. The Pro Light has dog bones in the back. So I'd like to kind of know how that dog bone fits inside this wheel knuckle here. If it actually rides, that groove actually rides through and into the bearing, and then you think that would bind up on that bearing? I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me right now. But anyway, what do I know? So that's kind of what's going on with this. And if anyone has been ever interested in this truck like I have, it'd be kind of nice just to share some tips and whatever on this truck, and kind of post some updates about after I get the issue solved out, how good of a truck it is. From the few minutes I've driven it, it handles rough terrain actually fairly well for its size. It jumps super well, and it has really good handling. On the bash spot I go to where I drive the MT4, I've driven it there a few times, and it flies well, it drives well, it handles the big lumps of grass and weeds and everything fairly well. I'm pretty impressed with that. It's a really fun truck to drive. You only get like 3 minutes. So anyway, hope that helps anyone if they have this trucking had been curious about a few of those parts things I figured out, and maybe we can all share about our experiences with this. Thank you so much for watching.